So welcome again to today's presentation on growing girls in STEM. Our presenter today is Camille Sloan-Schroeder. She oversees engineering K-12 community outreach for Iowa State University's College of Engineering. She serves as the Project Lead the Way Affiliate Director at Iowa State University, as well as directing efforts of Iowa First LEGO League and Junior First LEGO League. Camille has worked for Iowa State University College of Engineering for 15 years, building STEM pre-college programs and serving in roles related to recruitment of first-year and transfer undergraduate students. She has extensive experience in leadership, program creation and implementation, working with K-12 schools, administrators, teachers, parents, and students, as well as the private sector and donors through numerous STEM initiatives. She is inaugural director of Project Lead the Way and First LEGO League, Junior First LEGO League in Iowa, and created Iowa State Engineering Kids, or ISEC, programming to provide engineering summer kid camps and outreach activities to youth and model best practices throughout professional development to other STEM educators. She volunteers time to community organizations, serves as a member of her local Board of Education, serves on advisory boards, including the Regional STEM Hub Advisory Board, and she is a wonderful presenter, so I'm going to turn things over to her right now. Camille?
Okay, good morning everyone. My name is Camille Sloan-Schroeder and I am very, very pleased to be with you this morning. I feel privileged to be asked about this topic and to be with you. So thank you for taking your time to learn along with FIRST and myself. The topic today is about growing girls and getting girls on First LEGO League teams. And I think we need to think about ways of doing that work for you and that are not so complicated that it's something that you can't accomplish. So these are some things that you maybe haven't thought about, but I think the first step in anything that you're trying to do is saying, okay, I think we have a problem. The members on our team maybe don't represent the population in which we serve. And so thinking about your team makeup, and if that is not including both genders at equivalent rates, then maybe that is an issue that you need to address and is something that you want to think about for the team this year or future teams. So some of the great reasons people do First LEGO League is to get more young people in STEM, and that is one of the areas that I work really hard at, is trying to create a pipeline of students to go into the STEM fields. And there are many reasons for doing that. You can see some statistics on your screen. Some other things that I felt were worth mentioning. In the United States, there are 26 million STEM jobs. That comprises 20% of all the United States jobs. However, those STEM jobs, they expect them to grow at 1.7 times faster than the non-STEM positions up through the year 2018 and even beyond. The other thing that I think is a bit startling, and you are doing a phenomenal job to address, is that only 1 in 5 households in the United States has access to or takes advantage of STEM-related after-school programming. So we have work to do in providing opportunities to young people, and we have opportunities in providing everyone the access to STEM and STEM education. And so I think it's good for us to wrap our heads around that First LEGO League is STEM. It's about real-world challenges. It has open-ended solutions, so there's not necessarily one way of doing it. There's learning outcomes. There's those rubrics that you have as coaches on what would be considered great outcomes for the team to have. You're looking at promotion of non-traditional careers for females, for underrepresented populations, for all. There's a team approach to everything that you do. You're role modeling behaviors of scientists, technologists, engineering, mathematics. You're also looking at ways where you can teach kids about maybe topics that they had never even heard of or considered before, so you're really getting them thinking beyond their microcosm of society, and you're teaching them to persevere. So it's that whole, okay, well, the robot didn't do what we thought it was going to do, but let's keep on trying. And FLL is STEM. So it's a very true story that many people out there feel like maybe young women don't have the same math and science ability or technical abilities as their male counterparts. There have been gains in the last number of decades, but this still is a true story today. And we have to overcome those stereotypes and really that misperception. So this quote is, I feel, is really, really great. It really talks about how we have to think about what perception do people have of how they are, their own self-efficacy, how are they doing. I think this is just phenomenal. Boys do not pursue mathematical activities at a higher rate than girls do because they are better at math. They do so at least because they think they are better. So how someone perceives themselves is critically important to how they perceive they do in a subject area or in a task. It is not necessarily what you feel like they're doing, it's their own self-perception, and their perception is their reality. And also your perception, if you think you can, you just might. So when those girls are on those FLL teams, if they are encouraged and if they are taught and if they are encouraged some more and told some more that you can do this, you are exceptionally bright, I love how curious you are, they'll begin to believe those things. And it is really critical to understand that women, young girls, need to be told multiple times that they are doing well at something, that they are growing in something for them to believe it. And sometimes that can maybe be frustrating, or that can be one of those things where as a coach you're like, I told them they were doing great, but they haven't believed it yet. They internally have to perceive that they are doing well, and they have to perceive that what they're doing is of value. And so just my encouragement to you is to keep reminding them of how much they're valued on the team and how much their contribution to the team matters. And they may just begin to believe that it does, and that they should invite others onto the team. So with that, I'm not sure how many of you have done any of your own research or readings about growth mindset, but Carol Dweck from Stanford has done some really amazing work with this, and she has articles and books on this, and I highly encourage you to look that up. But the growth mindset is something that I really believe that on First LEGO League teams and in all things where we are trying to get young people to grow and learn, that we need to embrace. And so this is not necessarily something that you only do with young ladies on your team or to get them on your team, but this is a great practice for all of them. And the growth mindset suggests that your brain is something that you develop. So when you're talking with young people, talk about how the brain is a muscle that you build. And so if you have an interest in learning something, then just keep working at it. It is going to maybe be challenging to learn a new thing. It maybe is going to be challenging to learn how to program a robot or how to stand up in front of people and present, but you are going to get there. And with some work and staying on the right path and reflecting and doing things with purpose, that you're going to feel good about that, and other people are going to feel good about that with you, and you will keep developing your brain, and your skill sets. And so that is a wonderful thing that you can utilize with your team. It is all about, there is this pathway and this destination, and even if we get off the pathway a little bit, we're going to keep on working, and we're going to keep on developing our brain, and we're going to be in a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset would be, here's the amount of ability we have, that's all the more that we can do, that's what we've been given, and so we're sort of stuck in this box, where with a growth mindset, you can be developing all the time. That also goes back to believing in yourself and believing in your own potential. So it is going to improve not only the person themselves, that young lady is going to begin to feel like, yes, I can do this, this matters, I'm a great member of the team, I want to invite my friends to be on the team, this is the coolest thing ever, the tournament event, best day of my life, but also your team outcomes are going to improve because there is not a finite destination for learning, and there is not a mark in the road, so to speak, of this is all the farther we can go. And even when the season is over, they can still be thinking about, wow, we can even grow beyond this season into the next season. This is not our destination. This is just part of our path. So some of the ways that you can encourage a growth mindset and really develop those young women is to really talk about how you appreciate what they're doing. And it is not about, oh, you're so smart, because people, and young women especially, believe smart is something either you are or you are not. So you want to use wording that is encouraging and doesn't put people in necessarily one category or another. If you're good at something, the opposite of that is being bad at something. If you are smart, the opposite of that might be that you are not smart, or they may even reflect that they are dumb in an area. And that's what you want to try to get away from, and that's the encouragement here, is you're developing the person. And this also works with young men on the team. So instead of using good, bad, instead of using smart, not smart, we're going to use things like, I really think you are getting there. I really love how curious you are. It's such a value to the team. It's so wonderful. If things are hard, today is just a moment in time. We're going to keep growing and we're going to keep working. I know that you can do this. Wow, look how much you've done. This is incredible. It's so impressive. Those things help someone to believe that they are continuing on that path. Their brain is becoming a stronger muscle, and it can just become stronger, stronger, stronger. So you are building her self-efficacy, you're building his self-efficacy, and you're strengthening them as people. They begin to believe they can, and so they will. The other thing about young ladies is that where they go in terms of their pathway of careers and courses, and you want these young people to do wonderful things in their lifetime. I'm sure that you want them to go and get more education on things that they are passionate about, and hopefully through the FLL experience that is STEM included, and maybe things and careers that don't even exist yet. And so it's really important that they have an environment around them that is positive and is helping them grow. Their interest in the topics related to STEM are directly impacted by teachers, coaches, parents, people around them that they see as role models and as powerful adults that provide a world of opportunities to them. So I can't stress enough that as coaches and adults and even other team members, that power and that privilege of being around those young ladies is really great. You have a lot of impression on those young females and the things that they choose for their future. And with the age of these young ladies, they are at that critical age to choose to stay in STEM or to choose not to. And I'd also like to say that STEM is a very, very, very broad area. So it could mean everything from becoming a patent attorney to going into the health occupations, to being an engineer, to being an actuarial scientist, to being in computer science, to being an accountant. There's STEM careers, that's huge, hugely broad. So it's so imperative that how they feel about themselves and their interests are shaped at the age in which you are engaging with them. The other thing to get more First LEGO League young ladies is to really raise awareness. Raise awareness about the fact that maybe you have to call out that there aren't a lot of girls on your team. Maybe you have to start speaking about that with different colleagues and your network of professionals and friends, that you need more women on your team and you'd like their help, and to know other groups that maybe are doing a good job. Maybe you are engaging with them to say, what were some of the things that you did? The other thing is just as I spoke about in the last slide, you really want to think and speak broadly about STEM opportunities, because science and engineering is everywhere. You can't get into a car. You can't sit down at a desk. You can't even pick up a pen without that having to do with STEM. So you want to think about that very broadly when you're thinking about getting girls on the team and you're talking about, oh yeah, well, we do STEM activities, and you're talking to parents about First LEGO League is a STEM activity. It's really, really broad. The other thing you want to do is think about when you're getting girls on the team that you're going to have to be actively engaged in that potentially. Sometimes young women are not going to just look at something like First LEGO League, and especially if they don't really know anything about it, just flock to it. That may not be sort of have the brand recognition that it does in other areas. They may not really know what that is, or there may be an internal perception within the school or the organization that that is for boys. So one thing that you want to think about doing is at least trying to get a few girls, or at least a couple of girls on the team together. So 40% of girls say they'd feel uncomfortable being the only girl in a group or a class. So nearly half of them wouldn't maybe even stay in the activity if they were the only one. So, you know, I think it's really important to have at least a couple of girls on a team to start and keep working to have more. You don't want them to feel so isolated and alone, because even if they were on the team for a year, they may not continue to be on the team. And this onus of recruiting those girls is likely on you as the coach. And so it's critical to think about how, even if you had two teams, and let's say you had 3 or 4 girls amongst the 2 teams, I would hope it would be higher, but keep those girls on the same team so that they're comfortable together and don't feel alone. The other idea is to really think about getting STEM All-Stars in front of your team. Think about people that you could ask to come in that are women, that are in engineering, that are in the sciences, that you maybe have met in some other way, that could be role models for all the members on your team. So if you don't feel as though maybe you have those connections, something else that you could do to get in front of them, you could do things like PBS has a Makers series. It's a series of television shows, and it's about women that have done different things through television, through the sciences, through politics, through advocacy, and they have different video productions done on them. You can connect up with organizations in your area, like the Society for Women Engineering. Most of your colleges and universities have a department that's dedicated to getting women in STEM fields. So you may have a program for women in science and engineering, or a STEM education a coordinator or area that could connect you with great role models. There's also an organization that is started called Million Women Mentors. You might be able to connect in with them. Think creatively about where role models might be if you do not feel as though you yourself have some colleagues or friends or other professional networks that you could tap into. But they don't have to necessarily come to the team meetings all of the time. They could just come every once in a while. Maybe they would like to be someone that the team shared their research project presentation with, those kinds of things. But make sure that you begin to show them people that they can see themselves in. And that goes for all the members of your team. So that's great best practice for getting women and underrepresented populations to the team, on the team, and staying with the team. The other thing is thinking about the way that you talk about First LEGO League, or the way that you talk about STEM in general. So when you're talking with kids, you know, it's probably not best practice to say, oh, do you love math and science? Well, if you do, you should come and be on our FLL team. Or do you love working with computers? Do you love robots? Because love is a very powerful feeling. They may not love it, they may like it, they may be intrigued by it, but that might go too far in what they would agree to doing. So you want to think about, we do really interesting work on the FLL team. We get to be really innovative. We actually get to think about how we would improve people's lives, and then we get to share that with people and make a difference. We get to create these really cool things. We get to think about being artistic and expressive through how we build and design our robot. We get to think about the future, and we get to take what we're thinking about and actually make them into something. And what's really cool is that people in the real world do things like this for jobs and careers. How cool is that? Man, our team is awesome. You should come and check us out. Now, if I would have spun that and said, oh, hey, we program robots and we run them around on a playing field, and we have to come up with a presentation that we're going to give, and we work on a team, it's totally different how I've talked about it first than how I talked about it second. Now, I don't diminish any of the things in the second talking point, because you do get to do all of those things. But in my second example, that might be how a boy would generally go, ah, cool, yep, I totally want to be on that team. The first would be how I would be speaking to a young lady about getting to be creative, getting to help others, getting to see how that fits into the real world, and getting to see myself in my future making a difference. Those are things that are researched best practices on how to get women into STEM activity and STEM coursework. The other thing is how are you communicating out to say that there is a FLL team opportunity to those young ladies and the parents and guardians of those young ladies? So it's really worth thinking about potentially. Do you have ways that you have been communicating that maybe the message isn't getting to them? So it's really important to not stereotype the communications by the age of the young person. If you can do it in person, that would be great. If you can talk directly with them and encourage them and say, I'd really love to have you as a part of my team, and I just think you have so much to offer, and I'd I just hope that you'll come and check it out. The other thing you can do is if the school or organization that you're working with, or maybe through social media or newsletters, or maybe if the school has a communication device with parents, that you could target some female members through that. You might also work with local Girl Scouts, 4-H, other after-school groups. Libraries are a great way to connect with students. Something else you might consider is doing a night out for STEM or a night out for FLL, where you have a night where you show them what FLL is all about and invite them to come with their parents, and always encourage them to bring another female friend, because again, they want to be with their friends and they want to be with that other girl and they don't want to be alone. So I'll switch back to Jen now so that you can ask questions. I would highly encourage you to check out some different websites. Change the Equation is a wonderful resource on ways to talk to young people about STEM. There's wonderful research done by Pew on millennials. American Association of University Women has phenomenal resources. It's called Why So Few. There's some really great reads out there that you can tap into, but I look forward to your questions and I thank you for your attention.